Hey guys, it's Matt. The yin and the yang symbol, I'll just call it yin yang, perhaps the last great symbol that exists in this world that has not been hijacked by creeps. Now, I thought about this for a while. Is this a stuffed Lenin? Is this a Humpty Dumpty? I don't think it is. A stuffed Lenin is Humpty Dumpty, something carried through time artificially for whatever reason, almost like contractually. The creeps have to lay breadcrumbs for real people to find. The reality itself is set up that way. Some things are artificially carried through, meaning they would have been forgotten about 500 years ago. This is cool, and the deep meaning that comes out of one's inner knowing, even by looking at the symbol, I don't think it has to artificially be carried through time like what seems to be the contractual obligations of this reality system. I think it would survive on its own, so I don't think it's a Humpty Dumpty or a stuffed Lenin. If we use our bar example as we typically do, it's not something that if they got up from the bar, say 1000 or 1500 BC, so hey, that sketch you did was kind of neat there. Do you want to take that with you? Fuck it. That piece of shit, it wouldn't have been forgotten about. Whoever sketched it out would have taken it with him or her and given it to Confucius. Hey, Confucius, check this shit out. It would have easily caught on because of the incredible inner knowing. It gives away basically all of reality. The roots of this symbol go back probably beyond 1000 BC, hundreds of years before the Tao Te Ching or things I don't understand, like the Dharma, whatever that is. It goes back forever, probably 1,000 years older than symbols of similar fame or notoriety, like the Christian cross. This is the oldest and the greatest for a reason. It basically tells us all we need to know about reality, and as usual, for us, it's the best news of all time. Actually, let me tell you what I think that is now for anybody that has to catch a train, bathroom boys, stacks of magazines, whatever you have to do. I'm sure there'll be a lot of rambling and pondering on the back end here, but getting to the best news of all time, this is the way I interpret the yin yang, or what it's saying to me at the highest level. And it's not said exactly right here, but it's the best way to put it so we remember the true meaning of, and I'll look to your comments. You might think this interpretation's absolute horseshit. This interpretation's not from Wikipedia. Like, that's why I highlighted what this says here. What does the symbol mean? You look that up, it's all bot-driven horseshit. The black, which is the yin is the black and the yang is the white. Dark, night, cold, weak. That's bullshit. Didn't you ever take a marketing class, sir, about features and benefits? That's features. You want somebody to buy your horseshit, you talk about benefits. You can put your feet up and relax and take off early. You don't have to mow the lawn and break your back. Talk about benefits. Whoever's talking about what this symbol means, haven't you ever taken a marketing class, sir? This is all horseshit. All that matters, you don't ever look anything up on Wikipedia. Never look on the internet. It only matters what it means to you or to us. We're interpreting it on the highest frequency anyway. People go to Wikipedia and go to the internet. You've got to be kidding me. They're not on our frequency level. Anyway, to me, as the reality gets faker, you get realer. That's the highest evolution of all of reality and interpretation of reality? Yes. Here's what the yin and yang tells us. It's the best news of all time. As reality gets faker, you get realer. Oh, so I see, Matt. When you put on CNN, and as that breaks down and gets dumber and more stupid and more ridiculous and more artificial, then we're winners on the back end. We become more real. No, it's just a way of saying we're already real. It's just reminding us as reality, as you watch CNN or put on the news or look at the cover of the New York Times, it is so ridiculous. It's screaming to you and telling you who you really are. As reality gets faker and fakerer, that means that the reality system we're in moves closer to an illusion of some sorts, a crafted construct. It moves farther away from what Carl Sagan says it is. It moves farther away from Darwin, further away from the Big Bang. Now, that would actually be farther away from the Big Bang. As it moves farther away from any physical explanation that makes sense, and it completely breaks down across the board, then, this is a reality construct for real souls to have an experience. It tells you who you really are. As it gets faker, Matt, it can't get much faker. I hear you. Then here comes our yang. It screams at us how real eternally real we are. That's it. Matt, what else do we need to do besides that? Nothing. Go back and watch old men in a chair videos if you like, but go do the work. You're here for a reason. Go figure out what it is and go do it. That's it? After all the conspiracy research, that's it. Before starting this, I did take a look at Wikipedia. I always take a look for 5 or 10 minutes to see what the bots are saying or the mainstream is saying or the Ministry of Information. Of course, it's all total horseshit. Although when you do the Wikipedia, there's, of course, they can't ignore the truth, the duality, one contains the other. They work together to make the whole. Yeah, okay, that's all there. But I was looking, let me see if any of these bots are writing about the spiritual aspect of what this may mean. Of course, it's not there. It's not as bad as the horse shit you see on the screen now. Black, dark, night, cold, white, light, day, hot, strong. It's not this superficial and this much bullshit. They do talk about the duality. But, of course, there's nothing ever about spirituality. The hell's that? There's nothing at all mentioned. So that's where we interpret at the highest frequency. Spiritually, oh, this world's the yin, fake, artificial, a joke, breaking down daily. That means we are eternal, real. That's all that's all you need to do. So, of course, the bots didn't mention anything spiritual. Anybody surprised? No. The other aspect, something I read, which is total horseshit in my interpretation. I didn't spend 7 years in Tibet trying to figure out what this is and asking the monks up atop of the Golden Child monastery. But, it's one thing said, oh, then eventually they come together. They merge. No, they don't. No, they don't. They're always separate. One can never get even 1 inch onto the other in terms of gaining ground or gaining position. They create, or they do make the whole working together, but they don't ever merge together. One never wins. One never gets 1% up where it goes 51-49. So I don't know what kind of jackass wrote about how they're merging or something. No, they make the whole, but make the whole stay individually separate, of course. Kind of a jackass wrote that. I paused for a few minutes just thinking about some things. Maybe the creeps can't corrupt it. Maybe that's a contractual line item here. They can't corrupt it, or Matt, it's so powerful they're not able to corrupt it. Well, they took something that ancient Buddhist tradition, the swastika meant beauty, peace, and they made that so it's not even legal in certain countries. I mean, you can't even put it on a cupcake in Germany. I mean, that's where we are. I mean, these creeps, it's incredible what they've done, how people put up with it. So maybe per the contractual line, whatever, on page 10, they say, you can't mess with this. And by the way, if you try, it's going to snap on your fingers like trying to pick up a mouse trap, you creeps. It's so powerful they can't hijack it. But they'll look what they did to the swastika and all this other shit. We run from the power numbers of this reality, like 33. They don't own those numbers. We all have access to them. Like everything else, almost nothing, even the 666, in my opinion, is not evil. It's how it's meant to be interpreted, how we've been brainwashed to see it by creeps. I hear you. I'm not going to go fly no 666 flag outside of my house and put it along the road. That would not attract the right type of people. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to run from it either. The Baphomet. Oh, we got to run from that. That's evil. It's not evil. I don't know what Levi, that weird ass painting or whatever. Yes, I know the Church of Satan has adopted it with a giant statue in Detroit or whatever, but I don't even think the Baphomet, the roots of it, are evil. I really don't. It's all what we've been Pavloved dogged to believe in this truth community. But the main point, not to forget, you can do a ton of research on this, and yes, eventually it will tell you about how this reality works. Have we ever heard these things? Duality. 2, they work together to create the whole. 1, the white has the black in it. The black has the white in it. Okay, yeah, this is the sun and the moon in the physical reality working together. That's some burning thing 93 million miles away in some rock that just happens to be perfectly round. They fit on top of each other. That's a bunch of ridiculous horse shit. This is the sun and the moon. They work together to facilitate the whole physical reality. It ain't a freaking cold rock that flies in front of a warm burning thing. That's ridiculous, in my opinion. Sorry, Carl. Carl Sagan's like rolling around. Carl, stop rolling around. You and Dante Alighieri, everybody I talk about starts rolling around. This is the sun and the moon. But it'll never talk about the spiritual. It'll say, okay, duality, whatever. And it will never, the highest interpretation is what we are allowed to do. It doesn't matter if some bot at Wikipedia forgot to mention the spiritual side. That's what we have to take away. It's so simple, and it tells you we win. We're winners. Because if, you know what, if you put on CNN and it started, or it never looked strange, and it was completely a legitimate presentation, and even whatever wars were fought made sense, and whatever, quote, mankind was endeavoring to do was just, and all the countries had a moratorium on the AI, and everybody made sound decisions. If CNN's presentation of reality was like believable, I would worry, because then who are we then on the back end? If the last 20 years was the presentation in the New York Times, the Washington Post, whatever Wikipedia says, why did I put Amazon.com? Because Bezos owns the newspapers. Hey Bezos, he owns the newspapers. So if that didn't happen and it was legitimate, then if you look at the yin and yang and say, this reality presentation is very real, and Darwin makes sense, and Carl Sagan's presentation, that means on the back end, atheism, we're not very real. But what the presentation on CNN that's mostly bot-driven screams absurdity. So the yin and yang just reminds us, not that we need to hear this anymore, but it's nice to hear this daily, that you're real eternal beings and you've already won. So get out and use the rest of your time on earth to do what your spirit wants you to do. That's all we have left to do. We see through the trick. Well, what part is a trick? Everything, for the most part. Just go out and do the work. Start small. That's it. That's it. How are you going to keep this channel up, Matt, if it's that as simple as the yin yang and go do the work? I don't know. Maybe just making fun of it, but it's that simple. You want to go back and go investigate BitChute. What's the old man in a chair talking about? When's all the truthers going to apologize that said genocide? Oh, where are they? Have they apologized for that? I don't think. Who cares about that horse shit? Let's go back and investigate. What's the latest update on the Georgia Guidestones? Could you look? I fell for it 10 years ago. I did this, but I evolved as a truther. There's still the Georgia Guidestones, and what happened to the rubble? Did they sell the pieces off for $5 a piece? They put a big scrap together. Come get your piece of concrete. This was once the Georgia Guidestones. You can put it in your liquor cabinet next to the Cutty Sark. Everybody here knows now. That's where Not Milk Reality wants us spending our time. 2008 to 2015 or so, man, we really fell for it. I did. We fell for it. Think of all the bullshit that it served up to us. Spirit cooking with all that Abramovich horse crap. The Domino's and Pizza Hut, you go through the gate to get your pizzas. That's all that endless horse shit was all cooked up to create a class, a subclass inside the general populace of freaks, of people whose family wouldn't take them seriously. They would create a boy and a girl who cried wolf 1,000 times, and then this is sinister, that's sinister, this is sinister, no, but nothing ever happened from the perspective of your friend Tony, or your friends or family, or the people down the Thanksgiving table. All the sinister stuff we talked about, to them, nothing ever happened. I turn on the news now, and the events that led many of us into truth, the school events, we'll just leave it at that. Whatever happened in the malls, it's still going on. Now, look, they've created copycat, but many of them, even today, Chuck, I'm sure, will tell us or tell me that even the ones today they still look ridiculous. They still look like it's a setup, if you know what I mean. But this is a reality. If I agree that many of these have happened in the way Chuck would say they've happened, but there's been too many over 10, 12 years. It's a reality. We're in reality breakdown territory at this point. I don't think millions of people can be kept quiet and paid and threatened. But it's not just that. In 100 other areas, I'm in reality breakdown territory. But then when I start to lose it, or just shake at night uncontrollably, clutching 2 bottles of Cutty Sark, I just look at the yin yang and say, okay, absurdity, reality breakdown territory, a president that tries to pass himself off as legitimate, like Joe Biden. Ding 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 ding. That's our president. Take that take that word away. That's the president of the United States and its corporation. When the yin and yang then says, this is wonderful. As it gets more and more absurd, it pushes up hard. Then you push back the other way, and we win more. I'm not just saying this, or we don't believe this to make ourselves artificially feel good. We just losers, and we got to come up with this backstory so we believe we winners. So we believe we really are powerful. We could come up with these conclusions on our own, just seeing how ridiculous CNN.com is today if you go there. But what's nice is then you get a 4,000 potentially year-old symbol, and the most powerful symbol of all time, perhaps. I'm sorry if you have a certain religious faith. I don't want to mix these two together here today. One of the most powerful and meaningful symbols of all time remind us of the conclusions we've already come to. We ain't saying this stuff to make ourselves feel better. It doesn't matter there's a portion in the book, and it's hard to continue and finish the book, guys, with 6 videos a week, but I will in the next few weeks or so. It is written. I've got to cut out 20 pages. It's too long. I've got to cut it back. But there's a part in the book. Of course, Larry Silverfish, does he still own that complex? He would come along, or someone in the creep class would come along. You people just saying that stuff to make yourself feel good. You great unwashed have to come up with stories so you believe you're powerful. You all pathetic. That's just a story so you can sleep at night. You don't know no WT complex like I know. You can barely pay your bills, you lowly son of a bitch. You ain't as great as me and Alec Baldwin. They would come up with that. They would come back, but who would believe what they would come back with? There's a part in the book, I forget how I wrote about, like if Dracula took the stand and he made a very convincing testimony, he'd say, who's calling me Dracula undead? I'm not undead. I'm a high school librarian. But it doesn't matter how convincing his testimony would be. Just look at him. Look at what he's wearing. What's that red liquid in his cup? Take his temperature. It's not 98.6. It's about 30 degrees. Just look at him. That's no different than Larry Silverfish. It doesn't matter how much he would try to belittle us and say we're just making this feel-good story up to make ourselves feel better. The people that would say that as our adversaries against us have no credibility. They're energy vampires that serve something they themselves, I don't think, truly understand. So finally, what does the yin and yang tell us? Pick whatever color you want. That's us. What's the other side to us? The creep class. It means here we come right back to this again. The creep class is necessary in this reality. Star Wars needs Darth Vader. There's no movie. People just throw popcorn. What is this Tatooine horse shit? There's a bad guy is needed. Stuffed Lennons, like you ever hear this one? It takes 2 to tango. Leads me to Rob Bass. It takes 2 to make a thing go right. It takes 2 to make a man. It takes 2 to make a yin and yang. The creeps are necessary here, playing a necessary role. And this little troll segment. I knew Matt. He's always on the side of the creeps, saying that they're here for a reason. And I knew Matt was not to be trusted. It's being big enough to see that those lowlifes are playing a necessary role in this reality system. It's obvious at this point. We're benefiting. As I've said, sorry if you're eating. We didn't come into this reality as a spiritual being, drop into a body to be whacked off all day. There's more to it. It has to be difficult. There's some smart people that believe the spiritual aspect of you that's not here, or your higher self, or whatever you want to call it, has to experience all things. So has to be a creep at one point, has to be a bad guy. And here you're a good guy in this. But okay, I don't want to believe that. I don't want to believe that my higher self or put something like me into a reality system because it had to experience the bad guy, maybe an aide to George W. Bush. I don't want to believe that, but I keep it on the table. It's possible. See, the reality system tries to hide you from your true role as you live your life. It tries to hide you from the true path, whatever that might be. In this reality system, if your true path is to be a Henry Kissinger creep, it seems like it facilitates that. I don't think it's hiding their true path. This particular reality is out to hide our true path. No question about it. People like us. So then your job is simply to walk the walk and to clear the fog and walk the true path. It's very simple. Maybe the reality doesn't work if everybody's trying to do the same thing here. Everybody's trying to find the true path. It takes me back to those stupid rides on the Ocean City Boardwalk, the Halloween horror ride. You get in a cart of some kind. You get into those stupid. You're on a little rail, and then you go through the doors, and the little cart. You and your two cousins push through the double doors, and it's dark, and the cart is being led around inside the Halloween haunted mansion, and these things pop out, and something pops out behind the curtain. Just back then, just guys in masks and lights flashing. It was scary as shit as a kid. I really enjoyed those rides with my older cousins. They were there to protect me. That's okay. You go around the corner. That's George W. Bush. That's Henry Kissinger. That's Nancy Pelosi. That's Alec Baldwin. That's Lady Gaga. That's their role. Their role. Only one type of being can be on the cart and go through the ride and get out the other side a winner. Those other jerks are role players. It's pretty simple, but that's just me. I'm a simpleton. But if anytime I think I'm just being stupid and it's actually a complicated meaning, then the yin yang reminds me, oh, the most ancient and pretty much the most powerful symbol of all time. See how simple it is? Yeah, that proves how simple our half page should be. You can go watch all the Manly P. Hall lectures if you want. I don't recommend it. The yin yang potentially represents so many thousands or tens of thousands of things in this reality system that you know what I'm going to say. Here we go again. Reality gives itself away. Now, what does that mean? It just means this is some sort of a construct, the opposite of a Big Bang. It's the opposite of what scientists say it is. It's the opposite of Darwin. It gives itself away as a fake construct, and it was created for spiritual beings to have an experience. That's what the reality gives itself away. I mean, okay, so that's the sun and the moon. Absolutely. Work together to facilitate the energy in this reality. Hey, no, Matt, that's just a cold rock flying in front of something. Oh, okay. Well, I'll shut the whole video down now. I'm sorry. That's right. Let me go back and see what Carl Sagan said about it. I'll get back to you. Yeah, sure it is. Give me a break. It's the creep class pushing up one side, and as it takes a bigger bite of its shit sandwich, then we're benefiting with even more knowledge. Even though it's a half page and we have it figured out and we just have to go walk the walk and do what we're supposed to do, it's still fun to get more information as it keeps flooding in because they keep taking bigger and bigger greedy bites on their end. Don't they realize as they take bigger bites of their Subway, and is there anything more obnoxious than the Charles Barkley Subway commercials with all these how does Subway, a little sandwich shop, I wanted to do a whole video on this. How does this little sandwich shop, there's one over here in a little shopping center. There's nobody ever in there. Place stinks. There's cockroaches crawling around. It's really a lowly place. I'm afraid to go in there and have meat put on my bread because the meat looks like it's 4 or 5 days old. But then they have Tom Brady. And then they have that Golden State Warriors basketball player that makes like $400 million. Charles Barkley, Tony Romo, Serena Williams. Like, how are you, this little company, I know they've got millions and millions of outlets, but how are you getting the money to pay all these athletes? Just advertise your sandwiches. Show how wholesome and good they are. I don't need a Serena Williams to present me no sandwich. Charles Barkley, eat fresh, refresh. How obnoxious is Charles Barkley? Sorry, jeepers, creepers. Where were we? So that's the creeps on one side. We're the other side. Oh, it's the bites of the shit sandwich. Somebody came to me once and said, Matt, it doesn't make sense. Who would want to take a bite of a shit sandwich? How do you want me to put it? The bites, the overreach that the creeps are taking. You want me to say something positive in their regard? No, in their overreach, no matter how great they think it is, what it really is metaphysically is a bite of a shit sandwich because it ensures our win on the back end. These dummy creeps. Why don't they just put their feet up and said, we've done a lot over the last 200 years. Let's just relax for a while. Because their role is given away. Their role is so obvious, it can't relax. It's like a contractual role. They have to be the Terminator. The whole reality is so artificial, and we're the only ones that can see through it. There's been some interesting presentations I've seen over the years on YouTube, and I don't remember who was giving them or why. And, it's interesting, but it doesn't make any sense at the same time. So I don't know if they referenced a particular secret society, or we'll just say, as usual, certain elements inside the creep class per these presentations. They're trying to overcome duality. This relates back to their 2-into-1 religion, which no doubt they make their 2-into-1 presentation all the time. Goes back to the 7-Eleven job application, the application submitted in 2001. There were two. Now there's the one blank, 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 world blank center. That's 2-into-1. First off, let's get one thing straight here. And whatever they're trying to do in this creepy sense, whatever their strange symbols are, that's on them. You don't need to understand it. We don't need it to win. We don't need it to make energy. We don't need their gematria. We don't need any of it. We produce our own energy. Matt, if you didn't, what if you didn't get your analysis of Osiris right, which was the Oscar? Who cares? It was just fun. If I didn't get it right and that was a dick from something else, it doesn't matter. It's fun to sometimes make a video like that. We don't need to understand their symbols. If these presentations are in fact correct, and in some way they're trying to overcome duality, well, that's on them. Doesn't that mean I have to try to overcome? No, because it doesn't make any sense to me at all. This whole place, fundamentally at the metaphysical level, the John Nash governing dynamics, it's all based on duality. How could it be overcome here in this place? That don't make no sense to me. We're here to experience the duality. The elements here that we probably can't experience anywhere else. But look, these are compelling presentations. I don't remember who gave them or why, and I wouldn't even be mentioning it if they don't. We've observed them going out of their way with their 2-into-1 symbolism, whatever the heck that means. Matt, don't you need to understand that to win in life? No, whatever those creepy things they do, that's on them. We don't have to understand it. But it's interesting. Why does their 2-into-1 religion exist if the people that made these presentations to begin with that are trying to overcome duality, if there's no basis to it? Okay, but it makes no sense. How can you overcome duality in a place where duality is the absolute ground floor basement level of the whole metaphysical reality itself? Well, Matt, maybe through CERN or whatever, they're trying to change it. Who knows? Maybe. It seems like at some point, whatever creepy stuff they do behind closed doors over the pentagram, George Soros got an idea or something. Little George, the monkey presentation, the Baphomet floating above the Baphomet. George, do you have an idea? George, let him speak. George says, all the creepy stuff, George, let me paraphrase. You don't want me to speak like that very long. All the creepy stuff we do here, let's leak it out to this group that's kind of, quote, waking up. Let's leak it out. And what they'll do, they'll be so interested in our symbolism and all the creepy stuff we're pursuing and our 2-into-1. They'll study it for the rest of their lives and not in knowing it's meaningless for them. This is for us. This is little George speaking. It's meaningless, but if we leak it, that's like breadcrumbs and they'll flock to it. They'll spend 20 years trying to figure out what happened in Dealey Plaza. They'll spend 10 years trying to figure out what the gold phallus is handed to somebody for best actress, best actor. Let's leak what we do here, our creepy shit. Let's leak it out to this community. Then they'll be fascinated by it and they'll waste the rest of their days trying to figure it out. They can only really figure it out if they step in behind closed doors with us, George says, and step onto the pentagram. It's like it could be their first meeting ever, thousands of years ago. Okay, everybody huddle up. Our job here, says the creeps, is to block these real spiritual beings from understanding their true nature, spending time in life on what they're supposed to be spending time in, and these basic things. Our job is to block them. Does anybody have any ideas on how we're going to do it? How can we create these roadblocks out there? And then somebody must have raised their hand. It was the same entity, the George entity, but just whatever it existed, like a Schmeagol creature way back then, something that came from Mordor. See, if you really know the Lord of the Rings and you really want to sound intelligent as a movie reviewer, you don't say Mordor like Philly. Give me a pretzel. Give me 2 pretzels, one yellow mustard, and Mordor. You say Mordor. Then you really know your shit if you're a movie reviewer. You say, okay, well, I don't know. We've been sitting here for eons trying to figure out how we're going to block these people. And little George said, you know what? We're going to get this group interested in us. We're going to make mistakes on purpose. We're going to get this group interested in us. We're going to be the dark figures that can't be figured out. We're not going to go block them. They're going to block themselves by having all their attention come back to us. Then we can control the play. We can control the run up the middle. Little George, that is freaking genius. Go reward yourself with a soft pretzel. Well, they probably didn't have that shit, that Philly shit, 20,000 BC when George was plotting and planning with the Rothschilds. And so he probably wasn't rewarded with anything that would be served in South Philly or on South Street. But you know what probably the weird crap that they're into. George, go take a roll in the hay with the farm animals or whatever. It leads me to what's the cover of the Red Hot Chili Peppers album? Yeah, it makes sense that 25-year-olds would come up with this. Yeah, the first one, Under the Bridge, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic. Yeah, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic. That's a normal album cover that 25 or 28-year-olds would come up with on their own, just trying to have fun. And yeah, they're not puppets to anybody. They're not puppets to dark systems. Yeah, Blood, Sugar, Sex, Magic. Makes sense. Yeah, sure. See, that's what little George would be rewarded with farm animals along those lines, I believe. But what he should have done is he should have invented the soft pretzel right there and taken that as reward instead of that other sick shit. Matt, you did it again, man. I was going to send this to my Aunt Ginny. It always evolves into some insane asylum presentation like Two Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Look, if there was any chance that I thought somebody could ever get this to an Aunt Ginny or my friend Tony, I would change the way I make these presentations. I'm capable of making it without it breaking down into whatever has happened here over the last 5 minutes. But it never gets out to anybody. This is for us, okay? A better understanding, a reiteration, whatever that means, of the half page, a few laughs. It's for us. Not every joke works. I mean, there's a writer's strike. I just do this daily. A lot of shit works, a lot doesn't. But writer's strike, they can't even have the shows. Well, aren't you supposed to be funny on your own, Jimmy Fallon? Write some jokes, you stupid son of a beach. I mean, why have writers here? What if my writers go on? So there are no, you just do the best you can. That proves these people aren't even funny. These dolts of the not milk system like Jimmy Fallon. What's the other one? Jimmy Fallon and, what's the other guy's name? Jimmy Kimmel. That useless turd. I think none of their shows are going off because of the writer's strikes. Aren't you guys supposed to be funny on your own? Any comedian can write some, I don't see, this just proves how fake everything is. These shows apparently aren't going on because of the writer's strike. Well, then just don't even have an opening monologue. Just bring guests on and talk to them. They're basically saying these idiots like Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel can't do anything on their own. They're that useless. Guys, my presentation would become more professional if I thought you could send it to your Aunt Ginny, but we can't. So we'll have as much fun as we can. Again, it's a half page. I have to make fun of it. That's all I got left. Thanks for listening.